All right, we're here with the wonderful Chris Drake. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good.
I've had my coffee. I'm awake, so.
Yeah, we always do these in the morning before we start working, which...
That's a good thing.
It's a good thing, because you and I, we might do things like interviews and stuff, but we actually do music for a living.
Absolutely.
So you've got to like work the other 12 hours of the day.
Yeah, you know, those first few hours in the day, I mean, let's face it, I don't think that, I'd be surprised if any really good record has ever been made between like 8 a.m. and 12.
Probably if they're still up.
Yeah, okay, that counts. But you know, if it's like 8 and 12, and you've slept before that, nah, it's not going to happen, is it? It's not like you wake up thinking, this is the magic time. This is, you know, it's not going to work.
Definitely. Well, I mean, I still managed to have to do 12-hour days after this. I mean, so yeah. I decided to, we were talking about earlier, sort of do some research on your catalogue, and after a couple of hours, I
gave up
because you have a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah. It's you know, that's the life of a dance artist. You know, we constantly put out music. It's you know, try to keep the finger on the pulse of the now. It's less of a, you know, we take a less of a, well, predominantly we take less of an album cycle mentality. We approach, well, I at least approach singles all the time, so it means a lot of material out all the time.
Now, what I love about your stuff is it's incredibly musical. You know, I'm a guitar player and I play keyboards and stuff like that, predominantly a guitar player.
So you recognise the musical element of it?
Yeah. I do, because a lot of, and I'm going to joke about it, a lot of EDM.
Yeah, like the sidesteps.
Dance music is not orientated towards, you know, melody and harmony.
Yeah, but I think there's a big reason for that, and that's because it's. I just think the entry point into dance music kind of sidesteps musicians. It's like, you know, when I think a lot of people in bands, you know, maybe they end up getting into a band because they started playing guitar and they started playing the drums, or you know, they learn how to play an instrument first. That very often doesn't happen in dance music. Dance music is massively influenced by sampling, hugely influenced by sampling, essentially taking someone else's idea and manipulating it. It's a huge element of dance music. You mentioned off camera, you mentioned Moby. I mean, like, that was a big element of what Moby was doing, was sampling. Prodigy, one of the most famous electronic acts of the 90s, you know, right through to now. Their music catalog would be nothing without sampling. It's a huge element of what we do, and sampling is very intuitive. It's not something that's taught. It's not like you're not going to go and get a degree in sampling. You can go and get a degree in, you know, in classical piano or you know, you know, but you're not going to get that in sampling, and that's how a lot of dance acts get into dance music. They would get a sampler. You know, in the 90s, that's you know, one of the most important things to get was a sampling machine. Now you just get a piece of software like Fruity Loops or it's FL Studio now, or Ableton Live or Logic, and you get some samples and you start putting together some records, and that's what most of the artists that I know, that's what they know how to do. They'll take musical elements and they'll put them together and they'll build a record. I personally have a bit more of a musical background. I can play the keyboard, the piano. I actually learned how to play the church organ. That was my instrument. I can't really play it very well now, but so I have a musical background. I can play, I can put together chords and that, and that influences my music greatly. So I can build my own music and shape records in a different way compared to a lot of other dance acts, because they honestly cannot play more than, you know, 2 notes in a sequence, and they struggle to build a musical piece with chords that move into different sections and stuff. I think that's the difference, and you know, that's what separates the electronic music from different genres. I
feel like your remixes. I was listening to Craig David one.
Yeah.
It's. I'll be honest. I'm not a huge Craig David fan. I don't know much about him. I was kind of over here when he broke over there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I know who he is, and he's got an amazing voice. But your remix could have been the single. It could have been the song, as opposed to like, oh, I'm looping the chorus and building a beat under it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You chopped it up and created another song out of it, which was equally as good of a song.
Yeah, it's sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, you know, the Craig David one was it's actually really funny. Craig David's a bit of a enigma, I guess. I'm trying to think of the right word to describe it. I think that's
probably a good way to describe it.
Yeah, you know, he's had a true reinvention. I mean, he had a fantastic career in the 90s or early 2000s, and then kind of like dropped off. I don't know, so if you were over here, you maybe missed a big part of what happened in Craig David's career, and he was completely torn apart by a comedian. Do you remember the TV show Bo Selector?
No, it must have been after I left.
Right, so there was a TV show called Bo Selector, and there was, I've forgotten the name of the guy, and he was wearing masks, and he was doing like parodies of famous people. He did one of Craig David, which was really popular. He did one of Scary Spice from the Spice Girls.
Of course. Remember Scary Spice?
Yeah. And so he did, they were 2 of the main ones, and people started remembering the parody of Craig David more than they remembered Craig David, and he kind of like went away a little bit. And then there was a resurgence of garage in the UK the past couple of years, and he's made this
incredible voice.
Huge return. Yeah, fantastic voice. And it was great to get the opportunity to remix him. But it was just trying to take a record, trying to take someone's vision of a song and then reinterpret it in a different way that makes people feel a completely different emotion. That's part of the challenge for me, while still making people dance, which is a huge part of what I do. Is that's what I have to achieve when I get asked to do a remix. And I'm actually really proud of that Craig David one. That was quite difficult to do, but. Yeah.
Well, for me, you achieve it because it keeps my interest. A lot of modern dance music, I love for the sheer sort of shock and awe of it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know,
and that's what it's become very good at.
Yeah.
You know, the music that can, like, it's sonically designed to be there.
Yeah.
You know, very much in your face, and very loud and very brash, and but a lot of it doesn't manage to get you there. You know.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's yeah.
So you're here in a room making beats.
Mm-hmm. And eating.
And eating.
A lot.
What's your main DAW? Ableton, is that correct?
Ableton Live, yeah. I've been on that now for 10 years.
So listening to your tracks, listening to your remixes, your vocal timing is impeccable. It really is. Well, I mean, it is. I mean, I get to hear a lot of remixes. I have an academy, and a lot of the stuff I put out, people remix the songs, and which is fantastic. They can do whatever they like. They can mix them, remix them, whatever. But one of the things that comes up a lot is like having those vocals. If you're going to start twisting tempos and keys and everything, you've got to make those work.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The relationship with the track and the vocals is extremely important to me. You know, timing is everything. I mean, I think there's examples of records I've probably got wrong in the past. You know, I can definitely think of ones, and I can definitely think of remixes that I've done that I'm like, you know, what we're talking about doesn't really apply. But I think that it's very important to try and find a space for everything. In particular, because these records are so rhythmic, and you know, it's great to be able to sit down and analyze these records as you're talking about right now, and go, you know, this sounds good and the timing's great, but on a more simplistic level, what's really important is that someone can walk into a room, hear this record being played in a club, and understand it, and not have to overly think about it to make their feet move. That's really important. And so you know that there's like a balance that needs to be found between a complexity that can be engaging for a listener and a simplicity that can allow you to feel it rhythmically, and you know, and make you want to dance. That's the basis of this music. It's got to make you want to dance. If it just leaves you feeling flat, then it's like, well, what's the point?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just make a version of this in a different genre.
I do. Do you feel, because I remember the early roots of Ableton, we used to use it as a standalone software. I work in Pro Tools mainly and Logic. And what was great about Ableton is you could put a loop in there, immediately you could time stretch it, it maintained the tempo, it was great for that stuff. So it has its roots in being a very smart piece of software that could manipulate sound.
Yeah, I think that's a key point of Ableton. It's what I love about it is that it's an older piece of software now, but when it was made, it felt like the first piece of software that wasn't bloated by legacy features. So when you open up Logic, you know, there's when you open up Cubase, Pro Tools, it's a software that's designed to work in the 21st century, but its roots are in the 90s. You know, where it's working with MIDI, where it's working
Cubase
with
is like 80s.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Late 80s, yeah.
And Ableton was the first piece of software for me that came along and was like, well, we don't really care about that. We're just focusing on this new approach of production, and that's what I loved about it. And you know, I've used a lot of the pieces of software, and as a remixer, as a tinkerer, as a manipulator of audio, Ableton is absolutely by far the best piece of software for what I do. Like I can manipulate anything just instantly. I can or turn a piece of audio into something that doesn't represent what the piece of audio started with within seconds. And now trying to do that in Logic is just a lot slower. It's just a lot slower. It's a lot more cumbersome. It's sampling is slower. And you know, going back to what I said earlier about sampling, that's a weakness for me. Where in something where sampling is such an important part of this genre. If it's taken a long time to kind of like sample, that's just a hindrance to me. I want to be able to just, you know. So what I like about Ableton is just how easy it is to manipulate audio. So if I just type acapella in, you know, get loads of acapellas come up. I just grab anything. Let's do, I don't know, Marvin Gaye, Pride and Joy, MP3. Really nice fidelity of audio. Go here, and it just automatically puts the acapella into a sampler, and then I can. My pride and joy, and I just love you. And I can move the playhead to, you know, to. So I can instantly be playing something, and I could, you know, if I had a beat up, I could be building this rhythmically. I can, you know, just quickly. I can do this two ways. Just have this like where are we? You. you know, just I can just draw something in really, really quickly and be building a track rhythmically, or I can just alternatively, I could do the same thing, and I could drag a sample in, and then you can go to slice feature, and then it will automatically slice everything into. You can just try and find something that sounds nice and try to, you know, in a remixing term, you can truly remix audio into something that's not of the original. And then again, like highlighting Ableton's kind of qualities. If I go back to this track here, delete this audio. Actually, if I do this, if I just put okay.
You've got kisses. You've got kisses.
I could do this.
You've got kisses. You've got kisses. You've got kisses. You
really start, I could start turning this into an effects build, you know. I could just I could add reverb onto that, or then take ping pong delay and put this onto repitch mode. Then you know, really fuck with things, or do.
So you're just using a sample and building music specifically from the sample. It could be absolutely anything.
Endless.
That's awesome.
That's why, like, you know, and that just took what, 90 seconds, and to achieve that in Logic or Cubase, Pro Tools, forget it. I mean, I wouldn't even want to attempt that. It would just take so many more steps, and for, like, in something like Ableton, it's just so quick, it's so intuitive. I'm addicted to that. I can take one little sound and expand on it in so many different ways. That's quite powerful in dance music.
Very. Now, when you sliced it up, basically every single piece comes, so you could play from one key to another, and you could.
Yeah.
So it's.
Yeah. So essentially, it's just taking the audio.
Yep.
And it's put in beat markers. Now you can change them as you want. You know, you can move this, you can delete it, double click, you know, and very powerful. You can also sample, you know, change the pitch envelope of this. Do whatever I want with it, you know. You can really get very technical. You can do the same with a filter, put an envelope on it. So some of these ones you can drive it, so you can distort the crap out of it. You could turn that into a rhythm if you wanted to.
That's what I was thinking. Build a beat from it.
Yeah. So you know, just I don't know. Let's have a look. Let's overdrive it. Gate it. I don't know, that's crap. But you can literally do whatever you want. It's just endless. That's why I like Ableton. This is kind of cool, this feature as well. It's like freezes the delay.
Yeah.
That'll go on.
So have you ever had a challenge of just taking one audio source and building a whole track just from one audio source?
Yeah, there's quite a few records I've done which has just been like 4 tracks.
4 tracks?
Yeah, four bits, 4 sounds, and
Yep.
try and make the most with as little as possible. It's a good exercise to do because sometimes you can get bogged down and just throwing so many different ideas into a record and then being left with a big bloated mess. Sometimes if you can just take a few elements and talking about that complexity within simplicity, it's powerful. It's powerful on the dance floor if you're kind of taking strong, simplistic elements and that work rhythmically and then manipulating them in fun ways to keep it engaging for the listener. That's what I try to do.
That's amazing. So this song is Operator. Tell us about the song.
Yeah, Operator was a record that I released late last year. It was I self-released it. It was named hottest record in the world by Danny Howard when he was covering for Annie Mac's show on Radio 1 in December.
Great.
Which was really cool. Great start, and it's been really, really popular in the clubs. Anyway, there's just talking about earlier about vocal manipulation. I did a lot of vocal manipulation on this record, so it's a perfect example. We have this piece of vocal that's just okay, and then what's been added on here, obviously simple EQ, is a reverb plugin, the stock reverb plugin that, in all fairness, doesn't really sound that great, and then a filter delay. So it goes from that simplistic rhythm of just to be in this, where automating the
EQ on the delay.
the filter on the delay here, and then the delay time. And this whole section here is a build up for the rhythm, like a. I think I've got more. The whole vocal bus, then it's like.
Operator, we have a problem.
Beat comes in, so
Great.
yeah. So when you actually change the time, if I click on it, it's like winding things up like it's a tape deck or like it's tape delay. So it creates a really.
That's great. So what are you doing there?
Okay, so underneath this, we just have a piece of audio that's just looping. We've got the volume automating up here.
Yeah.
But that's all that's playing. That's playing constantly, and then we've got this. We have a filter delay. Again, it's pretty much the same effect as what I showed you earlier.
Yeah.
This filter is, if you actually right-click on the menu here, you've got a choice between different types of delay: repitch, fade, and jump. Fade is I think it's just a normal type of delay. And now if I put this to fade, okay, and I change the delay time, you won't hear any change in pitch. So. Just changes the delay time. Whereas, if I put this back to repitch.
Sure.
It's quite twisted when you know when you're hearing that sort of stuff on the dance floor, and you know, a little bit of alcohol and plus is involved. You need kind of like, you know, losing your mind a little bit. So and then automating the reverb on top of that to make it feel more distant as the build is coming up. So then you know the whole vocal. If I put this whole thing in the track, you know.
We have a problem.
And there's like there's no real complex sounds in there. It's like the you know the LFO build is really simple. It's just like a that's nothing revolutionary. And then there's
It's great though.
Yeah, it works. And then but the key sound in this is there's a zap in this. Gotta find it. This is the one that loads of people ask me how I made it, and it's really simple.
The music zap. How did you make
zap?
it?
It's just a sample. It's that.
What's this a sample of?
It's just a drum. It's a tom.
Yeah.
I think I played higher up on the octave. Okay, and then now if I solo what it sounds in the track, it sounds like in the track. It's like it's all like manipulated like this.
That's great.
Yeah. So, but if I take off all the effects, that's like the way that I've played it with the MIDI is just. So it's just a. So playing that, and then.
Did you write the pitch bend in when you were playing it?
Well, now it looks a bit too
perfectly.
unhuman for that, but yeah. So.
I love that beat.
Yeah, it works really nicely. Then, you know, I think I messed with the key is the Echo Boy. Changing the time and the feedback.
I love Echo Boy.
It sounds so good. You know? But this, you know, it's just taking really simple effects, and I guess a lot of people would never really think about automating features like feedback and echo time, but it can make a dramatic change to the sound. You know, if you want to really mess with. You know, or you can go into. I guess you can just mess with everything.
Yeah,
everything's automatable. It's like it's not. There's no end to your. There's no end to what you can do.
I think the Echo Boy plugin is just incredible.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what I.
Now this groove, though, this beat is infectious. Tell us a little bit about this beat.
I genuinely think there's nothing complicated about this record. It's just really about the choice of sounds.
That sound reminds me of Human League.
Yeah.
Very Human League.
Yeah, it's just
so like something off Dare.
Yeah, it's just a.
Yeah.
That was just a. That's all it is. You know, just holding the note. Nothing revolutionary.
It's great, but what is the sound? Is it a stock
just
in Ableton?
I can't remember. It's just a patch, I think. Let's have a look.
Massive.
Yeah, massive. I don't even know if it was a patch or if it's something I made. I genuinely can't remember. Most likely a patch.
Right. It's great.
Yeah, path to least resistance. So. quite a bit of work on the toms, just to get the depth of that tom that was more like. I think I ran it through a friend's distressor, the toms through a distressor.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and then I just layered that onto the. That was without the distressor, and then with. It's very subtle, but
yeah, a little wrongness.
Yeah, and then that's the main floor tom thing. That's the main character tom. That's the whole record. It's like it's really, really simple. Well, plus a pretty damn catchy vocal.
What's the snare sound? The hand clap.
2 claps.
2 claps.
This is actually a clap I made in another record that I've been using a lot. It's like the whole rhythm is. I just sampled the hats and the clap, and I just took the clap out of it and lay it. Sorry, that wasn't it by itself. There's that one, and then there's. So this one, I just added this one to give it a little bit more snap.
That's great.
That's it.
So it's interesting. So in Ableton, you're loading in a whole part, and then you're just piecing. You're not.
Yeah.
It seems like a really easy way of just selecting the piece you need, because you drag it in and it automatically puts it in time.
Yeah, exactly. So if I wanted to, add a loop, just go to. Just take some loops here, sort of.
And it immediately figures out the tempo and everything.
Very easy. So
this is the remix of the remix.
Yeah, exactly. So just add that in, and I could do. Then I could change the loop region within that. So. Or if I wanted to reorder this. Yeah. So I could actually change the. I could change the length of the samples. And then I can go back to that delay effect again if I wanted, and it's easy.
Great.
Really easy. So, and then I could flatten that, turn that to a new piece of audio. You got a new sample. Easy.
So I want to ask you about what you're using on a daily basis, because there's a lot of gear talk. A lot of people ask me, like, do I need to buy this, that, and the other? And I'm always encouraging, no, just get going, like with the simplest kind of gear. And what I love about your system is it's pretty simplistic.
Yeah, it's pretty much designed to work with my lifestyle, and my lifestyle is very
get straight to work.
Well, yeah, kind of, because I'm away a lot. So I when I'm on tour, I still need to be productive. If I'm on a plane, I still want to be able to make music. This computer it's the hub of everything. It's it's just a MacBook Pro, fully loaded, and it's the heart of everything I do. Without it,
You can unplug this and travel and go
yes,
anywhere.
yeah, I'd be a third as productive. It's really this, running Ableton Live, Logic. I've got a couple of other doors as well, just depending on who I'm working with. Plugins, Sound Toys, Native Instruments, blah, blah, blah. I use the screen, when I'm here. Pretty simple, Novation MIDI keyboard.
Do you travel with the smaller MIDI keyboard?
No, actually I don't. If I'm writing things in, I'll just draw it in, or I'll use the keyboard on the computer to type notes in. It's very cumbersome. I don't particularly enjoy it. I'm not going to be writing a symphony with it, but I can get notes in. I can get basic things done. If there's more complex things, I need to find a keyboard. I have to plug in a 61 key keyboard. And then instead of a mixing desk, I have the Drama. It's just a monitor control system. So volume knob, mono, dim switch, reverse polarity. I can select 3 different inputs. I've got my the input from my sound card from the Apollo. Then I've got 2 external outputs, and that's just for when friends come in and they want to play music through the
phones and stuff.
Yeah. So I've got 2 of those, so someone can come in and plug in a MacBook or whatever, and that's it. That's really it. I've got a UAD as a sound card back there, and
It's got the Apollo Quad.
yeah, run some of the plugins, but I don't use them that often. I've got various bits of hardware laying around everywhere, and I just plug it in when I need to use it.
Great.
But the thing is, I end up using the computer a lot more because I need to be mobile. And then when I go home, I unplug this. I can work on my lap, and I use the MacBook speakers the most out of anything. If anything, it's probably my biggest reference, more than these.
More than the Focals?
Yeah, I'll reference my music most on the laptop speakers more than I'll reference on those. Unbelievably.
No, I believe you, because I think most people aren't listening on beautiful studio monitors.
Yeah, I've got the Avantone, the mix cubes, which they're very handy. They sound like dog shit, really, but I mean, That's exactly what you're looking for. The Yamahas, exactly the same thing. They're like the kind of like the NS10 sort of modern replacement.
Yeah, people love these. A lot of people I know use them.
I don't really, I'm not like I completely get when people work on the NS10s. It's great, but I'm not desperate to.
Well, you didn't grow up in that age group that I did, where it was like that was the way you got guitar and snare drum sounds.
Of course,
because it was so aggressive.
The other thing was as well.
Why do you need to learn that?
The other reason why I didn't go for them is because you have to go and you have to get an amp to run them as well. I was just like, it's just another bit of gear. It's another thing to go wrong. Right. With such a simplistic setup, it's not needed. I wish there was more equipment to tell you about, but
no. I'm glad there isn't, because if you're making great music and you're making it with a system as simple as this, I mean, it's essentially your DAW with a handful of plugins and a way to monitor.
Yeah. And I have friends as well. I can let friends use this room. I'll just say, if you've got your computer, just plug it in. You're good to go. You're ready to go. That was the whole way this was all designed. This is really for the way of the modern dance music producer.
Now, what about if you do want to capture a vocal? How are you recording vocals?
Yeah, so I just go through the Apollo. I'll set the microphone through there. The main microphone I use, actually, I've got a few microphones, but the main one that I use is by, who is it again? Cathedral Pipes. Have you heard of Cathedral Pipes?
I haven't.
They're a custom, they're hand-built microphones here in Hollywood. And,
they are?
Yeah, really, really good.
I'll have to find out.
Yeah, have a look on the website, and they've got like a light in the capsule, so they actually glow. My one glows blue, and it sounds absolutely fantastic. I run that through a Universal Audio LA610, but I bypass the compressor and I just use the preamp. So I don't even know why I have that unit. Big waste of time. Yeah, and I get a really good vocal sound on that. I love it. But I've also got an old U87 that needs servicing. Actually, doesn't even sound that good.
Right.
but it works for certain things. I've got like what else have I got? Sterling audio microphone. I don't know.
But you're mainly using that cathedral pipes?
Yeah, but it's like, you know, for my style of music, it's just a case of getting it in, and I'll do so much.
Capturing an idea.
I'll do so much processing on something that it's not like the intrinsic, like the fidelity of the audio is not as maybe as important as it would be for different genres. Like I actually probably most of the vocal bits that I've put in my records in the past 6 months, I've recorded on the laptop microphone.
Wow.
Wow.
I can believe that though. You know, I did a song with Chris Allen and all the backgrounds were recorded into his laptop. Mm-hmm. When we came to retrack the track,
you can't get the same.
We couldn't
sound.
get the same grainy kind of cool sound, so we just stole his backgrounds and dumped them in.
Yeah, it works. It's just like I don't know. I completely respect the beautiful signal chains and wonderful equipment. Analog valves and
tubes for the Americans.
Tubes, yeah, well, yeah. And but I also, as much as I love using that, and I have used it in the past, I don't think it defines an idea. And
of course,
there's many different ways to skin a cat. There's many different ways to get an interesting sound. So
I was talking to Auric Wild the other day, and somebody said to him, what's the best mic for this or what's the best mic for that? And he goes, whatever's closest.
Absolutely. So that's what they say about the gym. What's the best gym you can go to? The one that's closest to your house.
Yeah, the one that you'll actually use.
The one that you'll use.
Yeah. Great.
So, yeah.
So give us a little bit of background. You were born in Norfolk?
Born in Norfolk.
Norwich fan?
Norwich fan, yeah. Tough times. And I had grandparents both who played the church organ. Actually, my grandfather on my mother's side was a saxophonist in a band called, I can't remember, is it Johnny and the Surf Combers? Or something like that. It was a big band in Birmingham in the
I don't know, but it's a great
60s.
name.
Yeah.
Johnny and the Surf Combers.
I'm sure it was Johnny and the Surf Combers, something like that. And he was a saxophonist, and he actually played, when the Beatles were, when they had the original band member, I think was it Ringo joined?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were playing in a club in Germany a lot. And my grandfather was in a band.
Kaiserkammer, I think it was called.
Yeah, my grandfather was playing.
Kaiser?
He was playing in the same club with his band at that time. So he was on the saxophone, and then he gave that up. And
Pete Best was the original drummer.
there we go.
Yeah, Pete Best.
So when he was in it, my grandfather was active then, and then he gave it up and learnt the church organ. I used to go over to my grandfather's house and. I used to sit and play with all the knobs and play around with the church organ and mess around. And then he encouraged me to go to the Technics School of Keyboards, I guess, to go start doing lessons. It was group lessons. I thought that was shit. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I thought it was absolutely awful. I really didn't want to learn, and I had a very, very big issue with authority and learning. I ended up giving it up, but then someone encouraged me. I think it was my father. I can't remember. Someone encouraged me to give it another go, and they got me private tuition. I absolutely loved it. Got really into performing again, and then I moved to Ireland. Did no music. Moved to Scotland. Met a friend who was messing around with synthesizers. And I was like, this is a bit cool. Mm-hmm. Started looking into it more.
Where did you live in Scotland?
Aberdeenshire. So it was really barren and cold up there. And I just started getting hooked on music technology. Started working all holidays that I got from school to earn money to buy equipment, because it was just before digital workstations, on the computers. You still needed hardware to be making music. So
what were you using?
My first keyboard was a Yamaha QS300. Wasn't the best piece of equipment to buy as my first piece. It was basically a glorified sequencer and general MIDI sounds, and it wasn't. It was all right, but it was. I could have made a better purchase, and then I bought like drum machines like the Roland MC303, MC505. I bought little synthesizers and stuff, mixers and tape recorders, and then eventually I moved into computer recording, and I got Sonic Foundry Acid was my first sequencer.
Before that, you were bouncing to 4-track or something?
Yeah, cassette.
4-track cassette, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 4-track, or was it 8-track? 4-track. Yeah, and then I went to. Yeah, I started making my first records in Sonic Foundry Acid. That was when I first started releasing records. That was around 2001. But my original records were pretty rubbish. They were terrible. I was better at bootlegs. I was making bootlegs at the time, and I found a distributor down in London that would press them to vinyl. So I'd be making bootlegs, press them to vinyl, get them into the stores, and started getting people playing the records. So
what constitutes a bootleg?
Taking other people's records and doing something with it, whether it would be putting an a cappella on it or making a reinterpret, like putting new beats to a track. So actually one of the records that I did was a track off the '97 album of The Prodigy. It was a track called Climatize, and I did a bootleg of that, and it became really popular. Actually, it was there wasn't many festivals back in like 2002 compared to what there are now. There was like 4 main festivals. I think there was Homelands, Creamfields, Global Gathering, and there was one other. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, this bootleg that I made was the most played record of those 4 festivals for that year, and no one really knew who I was. I'd actually released this record under an alias called Christophe de Book.
Christophe de Book.
Yeah, which was at the time I'd made a label called Cuba Recordings, and I just flipped Cuba, which was a book, and tried to make it French. Christophe de Book. So it's really stupid. And yeah, so I started making bootlegs, but after that I started getting heavier into original production and shaped my sound a lot more, and that took me up to around about 2005, which was like my pivotal time where I feel like I found my sound as an original artist. And that's when success started to come. People started noticing the records, and
that first song was Changes?
That was the main one that really kind of got my name out to the world. Before then it was kind of like, you know, very patchy awareness of who I was. Yeah, that really got me worldwide and allowed me to tour the world. I've pretty much toured the world since. So pretty thankful to that record. That's and what it's allowed me to do since then.
Fantastic. How did you end up in America? Because here we are in Los Angeles, in Crossroads of the World.
Crossroads of the World, yeah. So I ended up in America because my records were doing well out here, and I when I first started coming out to America, in Los Angeles in particular, I kind of struggled with this place. I didn't love it. I didn't really find the part of Los Angeles that I really resonated with and loved. And but then the more and more I came here, I kind of was like, it's kind of cool.
I feel like Los Angeles has 2 scenes. It has the people that are working every day, and then the people that party.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
Do you know what I mean? It's like
it's odd. It took me a little while to really get.
Because the first scene you meet is the people that party, and then you're like, well, isn't anybody actually making any money and music and doing stuff?
Yeah.
And then you find that there's studios everywhere and people are hustling and doing stuff, and you're like, oh, I want to
get
do
it.
like
Yeah.
So
I started doing a couple of trips out here, like 4 weeks here, 6 weeks there, and then it was 5.5 years ago. Just I don't know. My wife and I were sat there. It's like, let's just move there. Let's just do it. Let's just go give it a go. Sold up a place in London, moved out here. Haven't looked back really. It's just We really enjoy living here. We love the pace of life, the vibe, actually in particular we really like the positivity. I guess as British people would term it, it's a little bit fake, but it's I don't mind its positivity still. I kind of
I enjoy it.
You know what I mean by the
I know
fakeness.
exactly what you mean.
It's but I one thing that I've come to realize, well, I believe is lots of people move to LA to come and achieve something in the entertainment industry. There's a lot of driven people and just some people.
Driven people, yeah.
A lot of people just harness it in a way that's a bit vulgar. But the cool thing is, there's just lots of people that come here and they want to try and achieve something, and I've got respect for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
You and I both did, yeah.
yeah, you know, but for me personally, I come here nearly every day, work, keep myself to myself. This is my little haven. I'm not much of a networker or anything. I just come and sit here in my room and make beats.
Chris, thank you ever so much.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate it. Thanks for the modern lesson on Ableton. I say modern because I think it must have been about 2001 when I first tried using it. It was a little standalone thing that you would sort of, I think you could use it through, what's the bridge in Pro Tools?
Rewire.
Rewire, thank you.
Yeah.
My brain's dead. Yeah, using Rewire allowed me to sort of do the basics that you're doing there, pull something in, immediately be timed. But the workflow's insane.
The workflow's really creatively freeing. You know, it's difficult not to get inspired by what you can do with the audio, what you can do with an idea, how you can expand on an idea. It's a good time to be a musician.
Wonderful. Well, thanks ever so much for taking us through Operator and showing us how you.
My pleasure.
Your workflow. Fantastic.
Thank you.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of comments and questions. Please ask away. Have a marvellous time recording and mixing, and I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.